Good. All right. Well, do I start now? Yeah. Okay. My name's Paul. I am chef owner of Polyboy Enterprises. It's do private chef services, catering, personal chef events here in Asheville, North Carolina. Started doing this about 7 months ago. I've been in kitchens from the dive bars to the four-star fine dining. I've been doing that for about 23 years, except for the 1 year I took off. I'll get into that later. That's why I'm here tonight to talk about it. I guess what I usually start my story out with was I remember my first drink. I think maybe not the first drink, the first taste of it, but the actual first time I remember being intoxicated. It was at my dad and stepmom's wedding, at the wedding reception. There was some, open bottles of champagne. It was a small family gathering, maybe 20, 30 people. A bunch of my cousins were running around. A lot of them were older than me, and I was kind of the oldest of the grandsons in the immediate family. So yeah, there's a lot of open bottles of champagne and wine running around and being, it was floating around. This is New Orleans, where I grew up, where all my family is, or all my family grew up, both sides of my family, for the most part, and all around the suburbs of Southeast Louisiana and New Orleans, Lake Pontchartrain, that area. So that just tells you about the little bit of the upbringing that I had. Very strict, very Catholic upbringing. But back to when I was 11 years old, my dad got remarried to my stepmom. I saw this bottle of champagne sitting by itself. I didn't know if it was full or not, but it was black, so I couldn't see in or out of it. So I started drinking it, and I liked it. It tasted really good. I think I remember it probably had maybe a flute's worth left, a glass, maybe 6 ounces or something like that. But I drank it all, finished it off, not in one big gulp, but I was just sipping it. And I was walking through the reception, and with this bottle, everybody thought the bottle was empty. But of course, I would wait, or I would go off to a corner or somewhere where no one would see me, and then take a couple of quick chugs off of it. Anyway, I felt like crap the next day. I remember feeling really dizzy in the car on the ride home from the reception, and I didn't get sick. I didn't feel nauseous or I didn't do anything like get sick from alcohol poisoning or anything like that. It was just enough. It was just enough to make you feel good and put me to sleep and make me sleep really well. And nothing really happened between me and alcohol until I was about 16. So 5 or 6 years later, I was living with my mom, and she didn't drink much, but she kept a liquor cabinet, which was pretty stocked. And I would sneak shots from certain bottles every once in a while. Me and my friends would do it, and it was a game for us. It wasn't nothing we took seriously. We tried to do it so we see if we can get away with it. We were 16. We had more fun. We had fun at school. We had fun riding our skateboards. We had fun riding our bikes all over town. We were pretty active kids. Pretty normal childhood. Pretty normal adolescence. I didn't get in trouble that much as a kid. I didn't do bad things. I didn't do things that I could get in trouble for. I think I was quite the rebellious, I guess, punk rock skateboard kid. That I didn't really care much for regular athletics or the normal, sports, TV, music, all that stuff. Everything that I was interested in, most people or most kids my age back then really didn't care much about. And then I moved on. There was drugs involved a little later on in high school. It didn't really again, it was more like a game to me in the high school part. I was still enjoying the party and sneaking out in the middle of the night, doing that sort of thing. The worst thing that happened, I wasn't even intoxicated or under the influence of anything when I totaled my parents' car because I ran off the road to avoid hitting a dog. and and I mean, it was that was kind of traumatic for me because it was the first time, I was on my own, just got my license about a year before, driving the parents' car, and me and my friends were going somewhere to go skateboard to a skateboard park. That's where we were coming back from it actually, and going around a curve, and a dog comes out. We, swerve, weave, and end up in an embankment, total car. Um, so after high school, I really didn't know what I wanted to do, and I um, I just had some odd jobs throughout high school. I also I delivered pizzas. I didn't really work in a restaurant full time. I was doing like some server assistant type positions, busboy. I was a bellboy at a hotel. Worked bagging groceries at a grocery store, stocking produce, that sort of stuff. Um, so I was getting my hands and my feet wet, just getting in there a little bit with the F&B industry, just through summertime jobs. But I really liked it. I felt connected to the food and to learning about food and what it actually means to cook, and to do it for a living. So later on, probably after my 21st birthday, I wasn't big into drinking. I wasn't big into drugs or anything. I bought a 6 pack. I didn't drink the whole thing. And the lady at the liquor store didn't even card me. Kind of pissed me off. um, I even had it out ready to show it to her. It's my birthday. I'm 21, and she just kept her head down and just scanned it. Told me how much I owed. Put her hand out, and I gave her. Anyway, so I wasn't in the restaurant industry when I was 21. I got into it when I was about 25, and I learned about shift drinks and after hours parties, and I learned about this whole subculture of activities, um, and like extracurricular activities that go on after a hard night's work. And this is how I was rewarding myself. Everybody else seemed to enjoy it. They seemed to be okay with it, and they welcomed me with open arms to join in with them. And that was back in 1998, and that's when the party started. Um, Party didn't end until October 25th, 2017. Been clean and sober for 4 years, and um, that's basically, I think, the main thing was not the restaurant industry. It didn't make it right for me to do what I did with drugs and alcohol. It just seemed like in the beginning, it was kind of like I was playing the part. I was doing what everybody else was doing. I was joining the club. I was, no sleep for 2 or 3 days because I had to open this shift, and then I end up working a double. I'm working open to close, and I'm opening the next day, and all the scenarios. It's I've done it all pretty much, I think, and some of it, or maybe most of it, within a 10-15 year span. I did it like, for months and months and months. I probably drank every day for at least 17 or 18 years. I was probably a little hungover. I mean, I was probably skipping a couple of days, but that was only to sleep in, and I knew I was off, and I would sleep hopefully through a hangover. But I guess because I'm a thin guy, I had a high metabolism. I drank a lot of fluids all the time. I didn't really feel I didn't really ever feel bad, about the amount that I would drink. I just thought it was going right through me, and before I knew it, closer to probably 2010, 2009, I was in Nashville, Tennessee. That's where I started my career. My first cooking job was in Nashville, Tennessee. My dad and stepmom moved there, and I decided to go with them because they were starting a new business. So I got into cooking. I learned from some really cool, talented chefs. Some that actually, two other ones that actually trained me were from Colorado, Vail, and one guy I think was from Colorado Springs. They both had opened restaurants in Nashville, and I just at different times ended up working for those guys as well as a couple of others. But um, the just the rush, and I was learning so much. I was so proud of myself. I thought things would never get better. Um, and then I got introduced to a little bit of cocaine, and I got introduced to ecstasy, and before you knew it, before I knew it, I was popping a pill to make me feel better, to help me wake up, doing the same to help me get to sleep. Um, it started spiraling out of control when about 2010, 2011. Um, I moved away, and like I moved three different cities, three different states, four different cities within 10 years. And with the notion that each time I moved, I knew things were going to be better as long as I moved. And I was running away from the disease. It was waiting for me wherever I went. Um, and I went back to Louisiana, not to New Orleans. I was in a different part of different part of Louisiana, because my stepdad and stepmom, they moved back and they opened up another business there. So not having any connection with the family much, except just living there as a change of scenery. Um, again, I moved because I thought things would get better, and things got a lot worse. So the downward spiral was going around faster and faster and faster. And I didn't get any help. I didn't think I needed any help. I didn't ask for any help. No one really was checking on me. And um, I just did my thing. I did the best I could. I managed to pay rent. I managed to pay bills. I was functional. I was um, still shaky. When I come to work, I was shaky. I did the normal thing. If I had a break, I'd run to the nearest bar or convenience store so I could get a drink. And it it got to the point where I was not feeling normal unless I was under the influence. I was probably drinking enough, to put somebody in a coma who's like, twice my size, three times my size. I've had two DUIs. They were within 2 years of each other. And before I could go to court for the first one is when I got the second one. So when I went to court for the first one, they threw the book at me and they prosecuted me for two. Um, and I was sentenced to a year in jail. But because it was my first offense, they gave me the 2-for-1 deal that they had going on. My lawyer helped, made me aware of that. So I pleaded guilty, of course, and I did 6 months in jail out of a year, and they called it a year. So that was also a big issue, and I didn't really have much interaction with law enforcement. I didn't, hurt anybody physically while I was under the influence. I damaged my car some, pulling out of parking lots or cutting corners too fast, drunk driving, yeah. And when I left Louisiana the last time, it was 2015. I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, with a friend um, who I met in Louisiana when I was there last. He was from Charlotte, more industry people, and Charlotte was great. Again, I was moving so I could get away from everything I hated, and everything I hated was inside of me, inside of my head, the whole time, of course. But I was too fucked up to realize, and to accept the truth for what it is. And so moving on, I was in Charlotte for about 2.5 years, 3 years. Um, had great jobs. I jumped around a lot because I would get upset that I wasn't, things weren't going my way. So I would just leave a job and go start and work somewhere else. I never had any motivation though for before I got to Asheville. I never had any motivation to do anything in the industry, to be anything more than just the sous chef Paul, or the chef de partie Paul, or the catering chef Paul. Um, so I lost motivation and everything. I didn't care for anything. I didn't care for myself. Uh, and things got so bad in Charlotte that something started happening that I never experienced before, and it happened about 4 or 5 times before I actually told somebody I need help. Um, Another thing happened too. I was getting trained by an executive chef to take over his position at a restaurant that we opened up. Um, he was leaving. He was on his way out, and I was on my way in to take over his place. So I would show up and work his shift alongside him, which was a day shift, morning shift. He would come in at 8, get out of there about 4 or 5 o'clock, something like that sometimes. Or sometimes 6 or 7 maybe. But um, I couldn't go to sleep before 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning unless I had a lot to drink. So getting off at 5 or 6 in the evening made it, as prime time, happy hour everywhere. And um, and I'm doing this is all in walking distance of the restaurant and walking distance of where I was living, my home. Um, so this was, just out of pure convenience. I, the thing that happened was I would black out, uh, but not after drinking. I would go home after drinking, fall asleep, wake up on time in around 7 o'clock in the morning, put my work clothes on, set my alarm for 30 minutes, and lay back down in my work clothes on my bed, just so I could sleep for another 30 minutes, and I would wake up 12 hours later and not know where I was or how I got there. And I was still right there in my bed. And that happened about 4 or 5 times um, before they said, hey, the chef came up to me. He said, we're all crazy. We're chefs. We do some stupid stuff, but this has got to stop, man. It's like, you probably should go get some help somewhere. Look, rehab, or I mean, the guy didn't know what to do, but he did mention how that important it was for me to get some help. So I started doing a little research on my own, which didn't really help much, except it just made me more paranoid and made my anxiety go through the roof. And my sister, who lives here in Asheville, um, had noticed I was acting weird because when I talked to her on the phone, she said my voice sounded weird. I started borrowing money from her often to help pay rent and bills, because of course I was spending all my money on alcohol and partying. So I got to Asheville October 21st, 2017. This was the first time I actually moved somewhere when I didn't want to move. Um, I I planned it out though in advance. My sister knew someone who works at a uh, hospital or rehab facility, and they told me about some things that could happen if I go through this rehab program. I go through the detox, I go through the program, which is 2 or 3 weeks longer. And it's all there on the same property, same facility, if I want to do it. But my sister's like, we'll come get you, we'll pick you up, we'll move you into Asheville, put you in our house, and when they have a bed open at rehab, we'll take you there, and we'll make sure you get the help you need. She said, well, we're not doing it because we want to see you get better. We want to do it because we want you to see yourself get better. It has to be your decision for you, not for us. And I said, okay, those 3 little words that saved my life, where I need help. And I've been in Asheville ever since. I think I started getting better immediately before rehab. I was, the detox was 5 days. The rehab after that was about another 15, maybe 16 days. From there, there's this awesome farm that does fruits, veggies, and herbs about 35 minutes away from town. And they take people that just went out of rehab, help them get a fresh start, give them a job on the farm. Everybody on the staff is in recovery. You get a paycheck. They keep a bank account set for you. They regulate how much you can take out every week, so you always have something in the bank when you leave. And it was a year-long program, but I ended up staying 9 months. After 9 months came around, I noticed, I was ready to get back out on my own. So I got an apartment. I saved up money working at this farm. living at the farm, working at the farm. It was the best thing I ever did in my career because I was totally removed from the element. There's no alcohol, drugs around. I had nature. I had other people in recovery. I got sober mainly because of AA. I did the 12 steps. I got a sponsor who helped me through all that. And I went to a bunch of NA meetings. I was doing about 6 meetings a week, along with everybody else in the dorm. There was about 20 of us guys in the 2 dorms that were there on the farm. So it was a well-structured program. I didn't know what to think of it. I was just like, what the hell? I tried everything else, white knuckling it. And also, yeah, it's like when things got really, really bad in 2010, I quit. I'd quit drinking. I would stop everything for 2 or 3 days, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks later at the max. After I got out of jail, I thought I was perfectly cured, fine. I had no alcohol issues, no substance abuse problems. And boom, what happens? Same thing happens to everybody else. I picked up right where I left off every single time. Everywhere I moved, no matter what job I worked, what city I lived in, trying to make a fresh new start. And I'm just doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Insanity. So Asheville's been my home since October 2017. In 2019, I heard of a group called Ben's Friends from my friends in Charlotte, some chefs I know that I didn't know were sober, but I knew them when I lived there. And I was never paying attention to, them not having a drink in there. Or if they did, I thought they were drinking alcohol. One way or another, I mean, they weren't faking it. They've been that way since the Ben's Friends in Charlotte started. So I contacted them. I said, what can I do to get this started in Asheville? And went through the process. And in July 2019, Ben's Friends Asheville became a reality. Me and a couple of friends got that going. I'm not really too involved with it now. I keep in touch with a lot of the people that are involved with it, though. And I've been very vocal about it, and I'm very supportive of it. And the other thing is too the work that I've been doing here, as far as like restaurant work. I got back once I got out of the farm and got my own apartment. I started working at a restaurant. It was one of the busiest restaurants in town, and it was not. I didn't know anything about hardly anything going on in Asheville in the Biltmore area. And everybody's heard about the Biltmore House, and this place was over there. So it's a huge tourist trap, and so I jumped right back in the deep end, and I got my ass kicked, and I left after 3 months because after being out of the industry for a year, going back into it, it's like saying getting a professional football player to take a year off, and then as soon as he comes back in, put him in the Super Bowl. That was not a good idea. And I mean, the money was great. The money was the money is a lot better here than anywhere else I've worked. And that kind of kept me and that kind of kept me, it was something that made me want to keep going and stay there. But like I said, there's better opportunities. I went from that job to working a 4-day-a-week job and making almost just as much money, with a lot less responsibility and a lot less stress. And it was what I needed to ease my way back into what we all know, as living in a tourist town, a destination city or whatever you want to call it, is what I needed just to get back and keep my feet grounded and stand firm, and continue my career. So a little bit further on down the road, about 6 months ago, I decided that, or sorry, not just 6 months ago, about a year and a half ago, right before everything shut down in March, I started doing some private chef gigs. I just told people, I'm gonna start doing this, and I'm gonna do it on my days off. So I was working like 6 days a week for the last month or two before everything shut down in 2020. And I didn't really have a name for anything. I didn't have a business plan or anything like that. But being shut down for a couple of months later, that that gave me the ability to plan it out, and build up a plan, or write down a plan. And so I teamed up with some friends that that turned their restaurant into a catering business. That was their pivot for 2020, and they um, they booked about 100 weddings in 2020, and and of course, they did all those weddings in 2021 this year, and we have one more actually on New Year's Eve, and a couple more in 2 weeks. But so that was very helpful. The chef and his wife, who run the restaurant now, run the catering company. They became mentors to me. They're teaching me everything I want to learn. And the way they're doing it, the awards they've won, they're just they're just kicking ass. And I'm super grateful that I was able to find them, just luck of the draw, run into them at a bench friends meeting, and it's the owner, and I'm asking them what they're doing since the restaurant shut down. So we took the conversation from there. And so we're looking for people. We need more people. We got 100 weddings to do next year. And um, so Polyboy Enterprises was born. I now hire people to go on jobs with me. If I'm unable to do them myself, I've really not, I didn't really think about it. I just said, I'm going to do it. And I did it. I didn't look back. And I've been successful at it. I'm getting more and more business. People are calling me up all the time. And I have not been able to accommodate everybody because I have been so busy, and that's a good thing. And I'm also making sure I take care of myself a lot better than I used to in the previous decades. I kind of don't really want to work at a restaurant ever again, but I will encourage people to do it, and give them the give them a little insider tip or a little pro tip that no one ever gave me, if they're willing to listen and willing to learn. Before the catering business and everything got really, really busy, I thought it was going to be slower for my own gigs, my own Polyboy Enterprises. There's a couple of restaurants, a couple of chefs in town that let me work for them just for 3 months, or sorry, for 3 weeks, or a couple of weeks here, a couple of weeks there. So I always stayed busy. And a lot of these past months, I've worked 6-day work weeks. And because of the catering being so busy, I've stopped completely at doing all the restaurant work. She's like, I can't help you guys out anymore. I can't work temporary. I can't work 3 nights a week. I'm turning down clients left and right because I'm so busy now. And I don't want to work 6 days a week. I need 2 or 3 days off a week. And it's becoming a reality. I'm getting what I'm asked for, or what I'm asking myself to do is what's becoming my reality now. And it's, like I said, it's working out really well. In the beginning, I just thought of an idea, and now I'm not waiting for one day. I'm just saying, we're doing it. And luckily, fortunate enough, I'm around the right people and talking to the right people. I get the help that I need when I need help, and things are looking up. And I keep telling people, I might say some things that you've heard before, you read before, but it's the truth is, I'm taking it one day at a time. If I can do it, anyone can do it. It only works, it only works if you work it. And if I want it, I can have it. If I'm willing to work for it, I can get it. Once I get it, I want to keep it. And the only way to keep it is to give it away. So that's a good one right there. But so anyway, I guess that's about it. Thanks for letting me share.